Hey everybody, this is Stitch 1993 and welcome back to another Classic Movies where I talk about movies that I feel are classics, whether they're underrated or well known. And today we're talking about a pretty underrated one, Disney's Where the Toys Come From, a made for television / made for VHS Disney film that released back on December 3rd, 1983. And it's got a lot of charm in it, but you'll see a little bit why it's probably not talked much about. But before that, kind of want to go into a little bit of the who directed and such, and some of the acting, and then we'll go into the story. So it is directed by Theodore Thomas, who outside of this movie also directed a few other documentaries for Disney, including Frank and Ollie, which is about Frank and Ollie from the 9 Old Men animators, and Walt and El Grupo, documenting Walt Disney's visiting to South America during World War II. Very interesting thing about Theodore Thomas is that he is the son of the Disney animator Frank Thomas, who, as previously mentioned, is one of the 9 Old Men, basically one of the first men in Disney's animation house. The cast does not have any well-known names outside of the designer Kenji. He's played by Sab Shimono, and he's still working to this day. Some of his more big roles that probably a lot of viewers will know is he was Master Yu in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Emperor in Samurai Jack, and Uncle Chan in the Jackie Chan Adventures. So getting into the story here, we're introduced to Peepers, voiced by John Harvey, and Zoom, voiced by Larry Wright, who start the film off with a discussion contemplating of what their life was before they were bought. Some of the other toys also chime in that they too would like to know, and elect the two toys to do research on where they came from. Now, in this universe, toys and humans can talk with each other and are aware that they are alive, though it seems at least they can only talk to children, at least in the beginning of the movie, they have this rule. Though later this rule is broken, so I'm not sure why it's mentioned in the first place. Robin, played by Aaron Young, is the owner of these toys and recommends asking an old toy, as she only knows that the Peepers and Zoom came from a toy store. So later that night, they venture to a toy museum. It is a treat to see many of these toys when even in the 80s were considered vintage, all of which were provided by the collection of Ward Gimbal. They speak with a toy who is an actual toy in real life called Changeable Charlie, who calls the other vintage toys to celebrate since some younger toys are visiting them. We are then treated to the first of many montages of all the toys in action. These scenes are my favorite of this entire film, as these types of wind-up and automaton toys have always intrigued me. For this one especially, this clown that sketches what appears to be General George Washington piques my interest every time. If I had any complaints about this film, I would say the montages do go on for quite a bit, so most younger viewers might quickly lose interest during these scenes. Peepers and Zoom seem to agree that the scene is taking too long and decide to head back home. But before they leave, the face advises that the company and location where they came from should be inscribed on their bottoms. The next day, they find out that they have to go to Japan. The way they do that is quite odd. One of the toys advises they have to go backwards, literally. Another montage starts, this time with Robin's other wind-up toys. Robin must be a collector in the making, because she soon recalls she still has the blister packs for Zoom and Peepers and uses them to sneak the two back into the toy store, reminding them to think backwards. By the way, these are the actual packs these toys came in. Yes, all the toys in this film are real manufactured toys, and almost all of them were made by the company Tomy or Tommy. Speaking of which, the two think backwards, and so they actually do start to go backwards. From being packed in the toy store to going to the shipping containers to the airplane and back to Japan, where they find themselves in the Tommy storage facility. While they try to find their way out, we get yet another wind-up toy montage scene. This one probably makes the least bit of sense, as there's no real reason the other toys would be trying to escape. It is fun watching all the toys moving around though. Peepers and Zoom try to strike up some conversation with the other toys, but are ignored by all. Soon, though, we get treated to some awesome Gen 1 Zoid figures. It really is a sight to see these figures in their infancy moving around, as well as a Robotron in action. Zoom and Peepers find it all too frightening as it appears the Zoids are now chasing them. Zoom is momentarily captured by the Robotron. We skip to the next morning while all the other toys are long gone. They make their way to the Tomy building where a few LCD arcade games are shown off, including a nice little Tron Easter egg. Soon they come across an unpainted version of Peepers. This model considers himself number 1. They follow number 1 to the design room. Though they find it a bit easier said than done, as the room is suddenly filled with Tomy employees, or at least actors portraying the employees. After escaping, though, they are quickly scooped up by one of the designers, Kenji. See, this is odd because now they're talking with an adult, and neither the toys nor the designer have any issue understanding each other. The designer isn't even fazed that he's talking to the toys.
And, what are you doing here?
We didn't think back far enough.
He brings them to his desk and shows them concept designs of themselves. It's really cool seeing all these sketches, including sketches of Zoids. And yes, the Zoids are called out by their official name.
What's wrong?
One of those tried to get him last night.
A Zoid wouldn't do that.
They soon come to realize the designer they're talking to is the one that designed the two of them. He then takes them on a wonderful visual tour of the Tomy design and production floors. Honestly, this is the main reason I love this film. Seeing all the behind-the-scenes shots of the toys we probably have all played with or seen growing up being worked on is just so cool to watch. He eventually brings them to a paint room showing the specific paints used for Zoom and Peepers. We then get to watch a production of Zoom and Peepers. It's all reminiscent of the show How It's Made, even down to the music. And I mean, we get to see the entire toy production, from sketches to molding to painting and decal application to construction, all in a very upbeat musical mood. We even get to see some of Robin's other toys get made as well. It's kind of wild seeing all these toys being made by hand. I'm not sure if Tomy has gone full automatic production today, but it's just awe-inspiring seeing them being made by hand to an extent. Zoom and Peepers tried to talk to the newly produced toys, but the designers explain that they won't be able to talk until they find someone that loves them like Robin loves Zoom and Peepers. That soon makes them realize that they want to go home, though at first they're not sure how to get back. Somehow, though, they do make it back home. They bring along with them many of the toys seen at the Tomy factory, including some of the Zoids, as well as some toys that may explain this odd team-up film from Disney and Tomy. This is the fourth and final toy montage.
Come on, you overgrown horn toads. Look lively now.
And that's Where the Toys Come From, a delightful fantasy toy documentary that I recommend to any fan of toys that desire to get a bit of insight on how they used to, and some still probably are, produced. It's not on Disney Plus, but you can find it on DVD fairly easily. Let me know what your thoughts are on this film and if you grew up with it or if this is your first time hearing about it. And of course, let me know of your thoughts either way in the comments down below. And I would love to know if any of y'all would recommend any other films that are in this particular subgenre. Until next time, thank you. Have a good day.